Okay. Here you are. Here you are. So, how to fix your life 101. And I've done this a couple times now, but I get this all the time, so it's a good thing I'm recording it now, because people need this drastically. They need it very, very drastically. This problem, this base problem, is easy. It is hard because it is easy. Okay? If you want to build a wall, I want to build a wall. How do I build a wall? I want to build a brick wall. Brick wall.
Need bricks.
What do you need? What do you need to build the brick
Brick.
wall? What do you have to do, and what do you need?
Bricks and cement.
Well, yeah. So we'll say bricks. We'll just say bricks. So we're not even gonna cement this shit. We're just gonna stack bricks. So it's not gonna be very stable, but we're just gonna use bricks. So we need bricks. And then what do you have to do with the bricks?
Stack them on top of each other.
You have to stack. Right? Okay. Right? Two things you need. You need what? A brick. And you need to stack. Right? This is an action. It's an action. It's an action. And this is a resource. Alright, so if we want to build a big brick wall, we have a goal. Goal. Right? It's like an output. That's what we want. We need a resource. And we need an action. Right? This is our system. We have to design a system for reaching the goal. In order to reach the goal, we just need the resource and we need the action, and we have to make this a system, aka a thing that goes in a loop, process that goes in a loop until we reach the goal. And that's it. Done. Okay? That's how you fix your life 101. Obviously, there's going to be more complexity we're going to get into here. But the foundations, again, I'm saying the base problem is easy. The foundation, the root principles of the problem are always the same. Every single big problem you're going to face is like this, because we just need to place the bricks over and over, so we have to stack over and over with the individual component, the brick, until we get a brick wall. Does anyone disagree with that? Do we all understand the logic here? Okay, we all understand. Alright.
Yes.
But this is the reason why we cannot figure out how to fix our life 101 is because we're not trying to build a brick wall, right? We're trying to become something. We're trying to become the superhero guy. We're trying to turn into this future version of ourselves that exists in our mind. We are not that yet, right? We're not that yet. So we have to repeat this process we did for the wall, but do it for a person, a human being, a young man with an identity, right? How much did you miss? Not much. I mean, like, as long as you see this, we got our wall. Individual bricks, okay? Do we understand? Yes. So again, you already know the answer because you've attended one of these lectures, so you have the idea of how to do this, right? So this right here, this future version of ourself is our goal. Okay, it's our goal, right? That exists only in the mind. Let's write this down. Our future identity exists in our mind. The future version of you can only ever exist in your mind. Same as your past self. Your past and your future, they're only in your mind. Right? There's only ever the present version of you, but this ultimate version of you exists in your mind, right? So what we have to do is we have to define the system, the resource, and the action we need to control in order to build this future identity, that ultimate version of yourself, right? It's very simple, very, very simple. right? We just gotta get the fundamental principles right, right? But oddly enough, like this is kind of counterintuitive. It's usually it takes like, you know, really smart genius kind of people to figure out what the fundamental principles of things are. Fundamental principles are hard. That's the hardest thing to get right. Fundamental principles. So for fundamental principle here, right? So let's get the equivalence of what we did for the wall. So what's the resource for becoming this? What are the only resources we really have? Let's list them out. What are our resources? Resources, and then we're going to do actions. Right, so this is our system. Right, we're building a system to reach our, and I can't spell it right, of course. System. Still getting over my cough. Feeling better, but I still got a cough. Cannot shake it. All right, our system, which will have our resources and our actions, and then we'll have our goal self. Goal self is over. So how do I go from here to there? Who I am now in the present to that future goal. Well, all I have to do is just figure out what I need to be doing, and then the resources I need to be expending or consuming. Right, so what are our resources? What do we have, number one? What are the basics? You have a guess?
In terms of what, the wall?
In terms of, okay, we want to become this person. So the question is what are the little the components towards becoming that person? So let's think if I want to be it's a good example. If I want to be a physics guy, if I want to be a physicist, right? Well, what do I need to be a physicist? What is what physical thing do I need to become a physicist? I need a physics book, right? I need all these physics books, right? And then I have my attention, right? So you take your attention and you take the physics books and you loop on them, right? You read them, study, do your examples over and over and over until you become the physicist, right? So we got some basic resources here. We've got our attention, we've got our time, we've got books, we can watch content, we can buy a course, we've got our money that we can invest into something.
Real life people.
Yeah, well, you could just say a teacher, teachers, mentors, right? These are all the resources, right? Really, ultimately, what all of this is, it's just information. Like, ultimately, all your resources are what? It's all a big information game, right? So it's information. Who you become is dependent on the information, right? Everything is fundamentally information. Think about that for a second, what I'm saying. Everything is fundamentally information. A book is fundamentally information. Watching some content, it's fundamentally information. You're watching a course, information. Your money it's fundamentally information, right? Because it's really, nowadays, it's just numbers in your bank account, information in your bank account that goes to somebody else's bank account. Your teacher is an information source. But there's also, fundamentally, over here, actions are fundamentally algorithm, okay? AKA mind, right? Doing something or somebody that's running an action, that's mind, right? It's algorithm information. Everything fundamentally goes back to algorithm information, okay? Think about that. That's kind of what I'm saying is kind of wild there, right? You might never have heard it presented to you like that, right? But it's gonna help you get rid of all the bullshit and confusion with this.
Sure.
Because think about the gym. What about the gym? See, like a couple people drop off because they're like, "What the fuck? I don't know what that means." Hey, but it's you gotta think about it. Okay, think about the gym. What do you do with the gym? Right? You spend your time, right? You gotta spend the money on it, and then you're just going there and running the same algorithms every day. Lift heavy metal, right? Lift heavy metal. Like, consume your food. Food is information. You gotta consume the food. You gotta lift the weight. You gotta go to the gym every day. Yeah.
Hey,
Hello? Who's talking? Do you have a question?
oh,
Joe, do you have a question?
So-
Oh, okay, muted himself. Right, so we have to designate the things we have to be doing, the algorithms we have to be running, right, and the information associated with them. Right, so a good algorithm would be like lift weight, talk to girl, learn math, program code, make sale call. Right, all these just things we can be doing, right? Fundamentally, it's all just that. Things to do and information to consume. Right? Because you can look at your food as information as well. It's information for your body. Right? Because you're eating proteins. What are proteins are information and a resource for your body to build muscle. Right? Everything is fundamentally information and algorithm. This is a powerful way to look at it and see the world. So it's just a question of, okay, what are the informational pieces I need? And what are the things I should be doing? Algorithms in the mind, right? And then you just run it on a loop of a day. It's just, what are you doing every day? What are you doing every day? What information and algorithm is this person that you want to become, this goal self, is just a byproduct of that. It's very, very simple, guys. It's very, very simple. There's no magic here. Like people start to think in their heads that there's some kind of magic that they're right. There's some like magic like shortcut that exists, or there's something that they're missing out on that's huge, that's gonna change the game for them, or somebody's gonna give them a a shortcut secret that's gonna help them jump past everything. It's not reality. It's not real life. There is no secret course to 10K a month, right? Everybody's trying to take over your brain and your mind and get you to be unrealistic, right? They're trying to generate value that isn't there. Yeah, you can't fall for that. Okay, you can't fall for it. You cannot fall. There's no cheat codes. Why though? Like, let's fundamentally think about the principles. Why is that the case? Because conservation of energy really fundamentally is the conservation of information. It's what the conservation of energy, the conservation of information and algorithm. Okay? Right, because this information and algorithm is just energy. All of this is energy. It's an energy system. Your day-to-day life is an energy system. Right? It's just learning to order and allocate that. Okay? So what I'm saying is that we understand the conservation of energy. Yeah, every action has an equal opposite reaction. Everything's conserved, right? So we only have a limited resource of energy, right? So what I'm saying is all of that energy is fundamentally information and algorithm, because I've reduced all of your information, all of your system to information and actions, info and algorithm, right? Well, I'm saying that info and algorithm, if I'm saying everything is fundamentally information and algorithm, that's what energy is, right? Energy is information and algorithm, right? It's the flow of information and algorithm, okay? Make sense? So who you become is just a result of the daily flow of information and algorithm in your life, right? Is that straightforward? Do we agree? You literally can't come to any other conclusions. It's a singular conclusion, right? This all converges to this, right? If you can just master this, you can become anything you want, given realistic time and staying aligned. Is it stuttering? Maybe I should swap the. Gosh, I'm still coughing. Yeah, but that's if you get this far, if you understand what I said here. This is the game changer, right? It's not a shortcut, right? And I'm not telling you it's a shortcut, but what you really need to grasp is it's more important to get the fundamentals right and get repeating the fundamentals than wasting all your time looking for shortcuts, right? So here's like modern self-improvement dude on the internet nowadays, right? There's two roads you can go down, right? This is a Joe Schmo. You're like, how the fuck do I fix my life? How do I fix my life? Well, 99%. Well, let's go with Pareto principle. We'll say 80% of the guys are gonna go down this route of looking for comfortable / easy shortcuts. And then the other 20%, what are they going to be doing? What are those guys going to be doing? They're going to be repeating the proven fundamentals. Yes, because repeating the proven fundamentals is aligning to truth. Why? Because repeating the proven fundamentals is adhering to the conservation of energy. Understand, right? This is how reality works. Conservation of energy, right? You have to understand, all the math and the physics behind everything. That's truth, okay? Truth equals logic, math, right? Like, this is truth. This is the truth category. No matter what people want to tell you, everybody's bullshitting you. This is the truth, right? Because the conservation of energy is this, okay? So repeating the true basic fundamentals that adhere to the conservation of energy are going to get you results. Well, we'll put it over here. Results. Results. This is a lie, right? Over here is a lie. It's a bunch of bullshit, right? It's a bunch. So many of you guys are like falling for like just the complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. Yeah, I'm just sick of watching people fall for bullshit. For total bullshitters. I'm sick of seeing young men just be bullshit too. Conservation of energy. Well, not even that. I'm not even saying like playing video games and gooning on TikTok. I'm saying like, looking for the next big, get rich quick scheme. Like the big problem was the rise of like the drop shipping, like, yeah, drop shipping, e-commerce kind of bullshit. Like, that is essentially being like a parasite, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not the problem. Yeah, and like social media marketing agencies, all that kind of shit, So what we need is value on a loop. I'm coining a new phrase here because that just came to me. Value on a loop. That's what we want. We want value on a loop. Real value on a loop. So you need to be questioning yourself. Like, am I generating real value on a loop in my life? Like, how many things are you doing every day that is really truly valuable? Truly valuable. Like, really sit down and think about that. Like, what are you doing every day that's truly valuable? Is the list pretty short? Probably is. You gotta be honest with yourself. Like, how many books are you reading every year? How often are you going to the gym? Like, what skills are you learning that are giving you money return, right? Because the truth is, it's like the majority of these dudes out here on the internet that you're getting exposed to, they don't care about you actually like succeeding, right? It's not the priority, right? Like, for many of them, that is a secondary priority, but the primary priority is just maximizing return, right? Maximizing their return, right? It shouldn't be that way. The real leaders are focused on true value first. True value, right? True value first. And then you can, have, cha-ching. Right? If this gets flip-flopped, money becomes number one, aka you're selling your soul, then that's when things go wrong, right? Should never be that way. Yeah, I mean, that's really it, dude. It's just discipline. This is discipline. Discipline is doing the repeated, proven fundamentals over and over, right? Repeated, proven fundamentals over and over and over. And like for instance, sitting down to read hard books, like I don't know about you guys, but I just gotta be honest. Like there's been a lot of times where it's really hard for me to just sit down and focus on a book, right? There's other times where I get super into it and it's, you know, easy. But like the reality is it's very low stimulation, low dopamine. Like a high value, tough book is hard to stay focused on in our world and age because everything's surface level, right? Everything is not focused on real value and repeating the proven fundamentals. It's all just getting your distraction all over the place and, you know, and going down all these rabbit holes of confusion and nonsense. Right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You got to be over here. You just gotta do it. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. You gotta just keep looping on the value. Keep looping on the stuff that's hard every day. And yeah, and that too. You can be extreme one way or the other way. Yeah, it takes time getting more of a consistency. And for me, it's like what I've noticed the past couple of years is when I take a hit to health, it's hard restabilizing, right? Because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm restabilizing. Yeah, real value, real value, real value. It's all about real value. But the thing is let me say this too, okay? Real value takes time and sacrifice. Real value takes time and sacrifice. Real value takes time and sacrifice. I mean, yeah, we can talk investment down the line, but I'm assuming, well, I'm not assuming, but I'm more talking from the context of just you don't have any, you know, capital built up, and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I go from zero to actually having a life where I'm generating income, right? And getting results in life. I'm not just only talking from an income perspective, but I'm saying just value, I'm saying results in general, right? So results in terms of money, results in terms of girls, results in terms of like doing awesome things, all the results, right? All the good results. It doesn't matter if it's money, girls, meaningful work, stuff, you know, whatever. All results are going to follow this pattern, right? Because these are founded on fundamental principles, right? Fundamental principles. Because if you keep doing things of value again and again every day, it's going to build up. It's going to build up, right? It's going to build up. And then eventually, you will become this person. And this is why the two books that are really good, that are simple, that paint these things, are Atomic Habits, Deep Work. That's why you always start with these as like a beginner in self-improvement. Because you got to be working deep, and you got to be working deep and in a loop. Okay? Deep and in a loop. What most people do nowadays is they are not in a loop, and they're surface level. Right, so we're going to do our anti-vision. Our anti-vision, if we want to fail, we're not going to repeat anything. Right? So if you wanted to specifically fail, you would just be scrambling out all over the place and not focusing on anything. Eventually, once you get really good at one thing, it's going to be a major task in your life to focus on, you know, another thing, right? If you can be really, really good at 3 things in life, that's a massive, it's massive. Like, let's say if you become a guy that like we'll use myself as an example. Like, you're an engineer, 1, and then you've got a family, 2, and then 3, you're an investor, and then 4, you're doing like YouTube content. That's overwhelming. That's like, that alone, that's like huge. If you can do 3 or 4 things very, very well, 3 or 4 things very, 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 very well, right? That's huge. Yeah, I'm saying if you're like maintaining like 3 or 4 things extremely, right? If you're like a pro at 3 or 4 things, right? That's huge. If you're like, it's like people set these completely unrealistic, crazy expectations, right? Or they look at these people on the internet and think they're doing like 20 different things at once. It's like, no. No. You're doing like a couple things, right? And then you start to build up some leverage and capital, and then you can get like, you know, like 1 or 2 people to help you, right? And then you start to make that shift of being able to do multiple things at once, right? But it's very hard, right? Getting really good at one thing that's going to give you like, return, and then expanding to like two. Like if you're going to do like, 9 to 5 worker and then entrepreneur on the side, it's a hard shift, right? If you're doing real valuable things that are tough for work, and then you're also trying to be an entrepreneur after hours, it's a shitload of work, right? Shitload of, like, that's another thing too. Social media makes everything like look like everything's fake. So you get caught up in the fake. Don't get caught up in the fake. Right? It's smoke and mirrors. Yeah, like all these people are fakes. Yeah, I mean, student and entrepreneur at the same time. That's a lot, especially if you're trying to get good grades and shit. Because the difference of being a student with good grades versus bad grades is huge. But you gotta have these foundations. You gotta have the principles. These principles, then you're not gonna deliver, gonna perform. Right? And then life's only gonna get, believe it or not, life's only gonna get harder, right? So, because as you age, as you take on more and more, you get more liabilities. You get more things you're split between, and you're torn into 10 different directions. So some of you have seen that classic diagram where it's like you're focused on one thing or focused on a couple things, these little arrows, right? Your attention, your energy has been split into a fractured mess, versus if you're focused on one thing where the arrow is really big. Yeah, it's basically what you'll do is you'll build up this one thing that'll be your job, right? And then you'll have a big other thing that's family. Now to go and have a third thing where you're an entrepreneur, like your side gig, that's a lot, right? And that's a big identity shift, right? To have like a business on the side, this is a lot to manage, especially when life gets crazy, super ill. But that's, you need to be realistic. Why? Because why is this all true? Why is this a thing? Because of what we said earlier. Conservation, which is effectively conservation. You only have one mind. You only have one mind that has its own info, right? Because this is your knowledge, right? Knowledge. That reasoning turns into skills, the things you do, all the actions. But you gotta have the right. These are fundamental. Knowledge and reasoning. It's information and algorithm. That's the fundamentals of your mind. And the most simple information is 0. And the most fundamental simple algorithm is just base reason. And that's like the whole game. That's like the basics of the whole game. It's all a big information game, and it's all a big algorithm game. It's all, how am I thinking, and what am I thinking about, right? Because there's the a man becomes what he thinks about. Who is that? Who said that? Nightingale. And then that book, As a Man Thinketh. And I mean, it's been said by so many other people in so many different. I think Marcus Aurelius said something along with it. And of course, you have Plato said a lot of things like that. And then the Descartes. So many people that alluded to that. Yeah, because everyone alludes to it. Why? Because it's the fundamentals, right, of what life is. It's energy. Everything is energy. It's all energy. And energy is what? It's information and algorithm, right? It's thinking and information about. So you should be asking yourself, what am I learning? Like, what do I know? What do I know? And what am I trying to know? What am I learning? What are all the things I know? Right? Because really what you want, ideally, is if you were to find the perfect mentor, they would know everything. They would know everything, and they would be able to solve everything. They would know everything, and they'd be able to solve everything. That's like, the ideal, right? The ideal. They would know everything, and they would be able to solve everything. And they would have a polymath skill set of all skills. So this is like the universalist, and then this is like the polymath skill set. Okay. I mean, do you have time to be a master of every single skill in life and reality? No, not really. So I would say learn the universal fundamentals that apply to everything, and then pick a batch of skills in a T-shaped skill set, like, you know, a couple other things that are important and good, and then find something meaningful that's purposeful to you, and then keep looping on it. And then once you get a flow of results from that one thing, then you can start slowly edging out into the next thing, right? We get good at one thing. We get really good at one thing where we get a lot of results, and then we slowly start edging out to two things, okay? Thanks for that thought there, Slaughter Gang. Appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah, I like how I say the word edging and then you guys all immediately go to the most inappropriate interpretation possible. That's great. Yeah. So I want to hear some questions. Let me hear some questions on this. Right, because I think we'll say this one's wrapped. This is like the fundamentals. So what are the questions? And then we'll ramble off questions.
I've got a question.
So,
It's a pretty basic one. So there's input, process, output. Like, I mean, that's my interpretation of the resource and action stuff you talked about. How do you develop the will? The will to actually take the action. Like, for example, you have this big overwhelming task that's really making you procrastinate.
Okay.
And how do you get the will, or do you just have to force it?
That's a good one. How to develop willpower. And then what's the other question that we want? More clarification. So we want clarification on the COE. Alright, so how to develop willpower, and then clarification on the conservation of energy. Do we have any other questions?
how do you get good at, like, really good at one thing in particular,
How
and then build up in that?
to get good. How to get good.
Yes, basically my question.
Yeah, how to get good. Alright, we'll start with those three. That one, how to find a mentor, it overlaps with this one. Yeah, we're going to use our model that we've defined in order to answer these. Okay. And that's the same as this one too. Alright, okay. So this will answer many of those, this last one. But we'll start with one. How to develop willpower. I would say treat willpower like a entire category itself. Treat willpower like an entire category itself. What do I mean by that? I mean, develop a willpower system. Develop a willpower system. So what I've noticed is if I feed myself willpower information, I become willful. If I feed myself willpower information, I become willful. So that is why I have the list of like the warrior list. You need to think of the warrior list of books and playlists as being the willful information.
I want to ask a question.
Well, let's save it for number 4 because we still got these to go through. And then next, so the way you kind of want to visualize this is it's kind of like a kindling on a fire, and then as you keep feeding it, it keeps getting more and more fiery. So you need to be visualizing that, or just thinking that as you continue to loop on that willful information, it grows and grows and grows. And this is very tied to masculinity. Masculinity, and a big hack for this is hormones. Hormones are the secret of will. High hormones is high will. Right? So if you want to be very willful, feed the hormones. Hormones are what get you to charge into battle and take risks and fight and conquer the world and be the warrior. You gotta have the right hormones. You gotta be, lifting heavy. So what I would say is, like, you're gonna go through these cycles, right, where you have high hormone cycles and low hormone cycles. When you're high hormone cycle, that's when you want to be doing the high willful activities. When you're low hormone cycle, that's when you want to be doing your deep contemplation and internal looping and introverted activities. Okay? Do you get what I'm getting at here? Does it make sense? Like when you're doing like a high bulk with really high hormones, tons of compound lifting, you've got all the the food dialed in, the supplements dialed in. You're like hitting up all the girls. Like that's when you're more extroverted facing, and you're more about conquering and being willful, right? But then that's like the daytime. Then there's the nighttime, right? The nighttime is the introverted journey. It's the inward path. It's the doing the deep contemplation on your purpose internally. They just naturally happen across your life, just based on things happening, and how you respond to your environment, right? So you would say that like recently I went through a cycle where I was on an upward journey, right? But then I got sick. I got like super sick, right? So I had time where I went through a downward, and now I'm about to go on another upward, right? And then something will happen again, which has me more on a downward. There's always these flows in life, all these ups and downs, all these oscillating cycles that define who we are and how we're behaving.
How do you make sure you don't stay in one phase for too long?
Life will be the feedback. Life will be the feedback. And whether you like it or not, life will be the feedback, right? There's going to be events that occur in your life that necessitate changes over and over, right? And a lot of times what you'll do is you'll get in a loop where you're facing something, and this thing you're facing, you cannot break through, right? You can't break through. So for a lot of like young guys, it's just talk to girls. Talk to girls. Right? They can't face the talk to girls dragon, right? There's a dragon that you've got to face, and you can't push through it, and you keep fighting it, and there's high resistance, right? You keep facing it, and it's gonna vary, like what it is based on you. It's always completely unique to you, right? But life's gonna keep teaching you. And keep biting you. The dragon's gonna keep biting you and causing you to go down until you finally face it and push through and fight it. Okay? That dragon's always gonna shift. So a big
Life's
one.
the greatest mentor.
Yes, life is the greatest mentor. It's the greatest feedback system, right? Because if you are fundamentally just algorithm and information, fundamentally, life is the stage to upgrade the algorithm and information. That's because that's really what you are, your mind, right? Life is just this big stage of all these different dragons that you have to tackle, right? And you always have different dragons, right? And the dragons get harder and harder and harder the more and more you go. But there's going to be a more pinnacle moment in your life where there's really, really big dragons, right? There's huge dragons that you have to fight. And that's the one that's going to take, those are the ones that are going to take more cycles to push through, right? And you're just an algorithm that keeps trying to solve it. How do I get past this dragon? And life will keep kicking your ass until you face it and push through it. Because the only way out is through, right? The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, right? The dragon is the way. The big resistance is what you have to go through, because that's what you need to become this. That's what you need to become this. You have to get through it, right? You have to face it, because eventually, over time, assuming you're not completely dense, You're eventually going to get to the point where you know what you need to do. You know what you need to do, right? You're going to get to that point where you're like, I know what I need to do, right? You just have to fully face it. And it's going to be very, 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 very high resistance. Extremely high resistance. Right? It's like remember, for those of you that like did the electrical stuff, we have our circuits, and there's a circuit, and then it has a resistor. This thing in the circuit that stops the flow of energy. That's like just like what you're doing in life, right? You come to a point where you're flowing, and then there's a resistance, right? And it's gonna stop the upward climb on the wave, right? It's more like right here. So I didn't even put the X in the right spot. It's more here, right? The decline starts here. You're gonna come up to that resistance, and you're not gonna be able to push through, and then a decline will start. And then you start to gear up again to face the dragon, and then you might fail again, and then you then you drop again and decline, and then you're going to increase again, and then you're going to fail again, right? You're going to keep failing until eventually you'll get more through, and you'll keep increasing. Then you'll finally slay that dragon, and you'll get to your next level, right? Your next shift in identity, your next evolution. So now you've evolved to your next level. Well, sorry to tell you, that that next level is also going to have a dragon, right? And then you're going to face it. And you're going to fail. And then you're going to decline. And then you got to gear back up to face the dragon again. It's always a new dragon. I put it in the wrong spot again.
When does it end?
It never ends. It's a loop.
Samsara.
How can one be at peace with that?
Come to accept the suffering of life.
Yeah, that's where you get your Nietzschean philosophy. It's it's eternally looping.
Why don't we?
Because it's an infinite loop of just information and algorithm.
I meant, why don't we accept it? Why do we deny it?
Because we don't want to look at who we really are and what we really are. Because we don't know ourselves. We can't face ourselves, because the big dragon is, who's the ultimate dragon?
You.
That's the big dragon you have to face in your life, and very rarely people slay that dragon. That's the ultimate prize. The ultimate princess is that dragon. Can you face who you really? Yeah, it really is only you versus you, right? because you is all that exists.
Tautology. Solipsism.
Oh yeah, this lecture should be charged. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this is really good. There's so much, like, a lot of this has so much wisdom behind it. But yeah, yeah. Okay, that was that was one. How do we even get on that one? Was it willpower? Does this help though?
Yeah.
I think this really helps, because I had a lot of trouble
that's a lot.
figuring this one out, right? So what I'll do is I'll blast I think Dan Pena. Dan Pena is probably the best out there for willpower. He's better than Tate. He's better than Hamza. Dan Pena. He's better than
Dan Pena.
Dan Pena. Dan Pena.
Oh.
Could you send that in the chat? The channel link?
I've shown him before once. That guy is like pure willpower. He is whew, he's like absolute willpower. The thing with pure willpower though is it's dark. It's dark and devilish, right? It's fiery. It can burn you. Huh? What? Oh. Here you go, girly. It's all good. I forgive you. She wanted the baby monitor back. Oh god, I can think again now without the baby monitor sound. Wow. Sometimes silence just feels so refreshing. Yeah, but where was I? Well, the thing is, yeah, you should stop conflating them, because it's always going to be unique to you. This journey, like the principles I've given you guys are what's constant, but the specifics, the contingencies are always different. The stage is always different. The dragon is always, until the final dragon, but because the final dragon is convergence, right? It's all, it's all going to one point. Willpower. So one thing that, one thing that I have heard Hamza say that's really good is that it's crazy how many problems will be solved by telling somebody don't be a pussy, by telling a dude just don't be a pussy, right? Because these humps at the top, they're usually a problem of willpower, right? It's always a problem of willpower. Yeah, don't be a bitch, right? So you get to this point where you're like, don't be a bitch, right?
So, my mind always goes to why. As to why should we do these things? What's the purpose behind it?
Because that's the game.
What's the reason?
That's the game.
Who said that?
Game.
Why?
Well, I mean,
Why
I'm
is it
saying
the
that?
game?
But I mean, you can play the game however you want to play the game. But if you want to win the game, that's the pattern. But
Then
yes,
I'm stuck in wanting to know why.
You're stuck in what?
Wanting to know why behind everything. That's always been the case since I was a kid.
Well,
I've wanted to know why.
if you really want to, you can spend all your time on just why.
But doing that, I lack in doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, again,
So
it's
you
conservation.
recognize problem in that.
You have to select what you care about. You gotta
And
make
if I'm
the
not
choices.
honest,
Well, I mean, if you just don't do it, if you don't select, then you get stuck with not selecting, and then whatever happens, right? You gotta make a choice.
Drifting in the sea.
Yeah, you drift unconsciously, or you become conscious and select. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
You go with the flow of the river, or you attempt to paddle against it. Like everything's flowing in life, things moving, nothing is resting, flows, nothing.
I remember that.
wasn't that a quote from Socrates?
No,
Or
it's
was it?
Heraclitus.
It was Heraclitus.
Heraclitus.
Because the fundamental element is fire.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't. I mean, there's some debates of like, okay, what he really meant with that, but more than anything, he was really talking about an energy. He's saying,
Yeah.
yeah, the arc was fire, but really what he's talking about is the arc is energy flow, right? Which he is, he was right about it in that aspect, right? All the early Greeks were right in their own way about the arc, but there's a lot of truth in that. Everything flows, nothing remains still, right? Because scientifically, but what does that mean in terms of the principles and how you live your life? It's really important. Because ultimately, for actual utility of like you improving yourself, is that if everything else is flowing and making decisions and changing things, if you just go unconscious and go into NPC robot mode, then all these other algorithms, all these other people making rational decisions and doing things are going to impact you, and you're going to get whatever consequences get dealt out to you, right? So you got to be your own representative. You got to be your own decision maker for your own fate, right? You got to take conscious control, right? You got to take conscious control of your life, because if you don't take conscious control, you're going to get unconscious consequences that are just resultant of the environment that you live in, and you don't want that.
So that can apply. The devil and the angel on your shoulder in that case could be your. Is that a representation of your unconscious?
Yeah, but there's some complexities there. So we did
As
this
always.
one. How to develop willpower. Clarification on the COE. No, dude. Sauter, you gotta just read the books that we already gave you. Slow down. Right? You just literally time out. What did you just do? You just went over here, dude. Right? You went over here. Why'd you go that way? Why'd you go towards the lie path?
Looking for.
Okay, you just did that. You took the 80% path. You just violated the whole point of what we're talking about. Okay? You gotta go this way. You gotta finish those books, dude. Well, don't chew off. Don't try to, you gotta focus on the little bites of what you've already been given. And then you can upgrade.
Which books I came in late.
Who said that? What? Oh, the books.
Which books?
It's just
I
the-
came late.
Just the fundamental Atomic Habits and Deep Work. We're just trying to get him to read Atomic Habits. We've been trying to do that for the last
Oh.
6 months. Because he keeps going this way. You keep going this way. You see that? See why
Do
you're in
your
hell?
shadow work. Do your shadow work.
Yeah, that's important too. Yep. It's important too. Yeah. Yeah, usually because you're not breaking through one of these, that's the other thing. So there's will, there's also shadow. There's something that's holding you back in the shadow. Something suppressed that you can't look at. That's another reason. But clarification on the COE. Let's talk about that. What do I mean by COE? Conservation of energy. Does anybody know where the conservation of energy came from?
Isaac Newton.
Sir Isaac Newton. Which law?
Second.
Newton's laws. Does anybody know?
I only remember 2.
Disregard woman, acquire currency, something like that.
Yeah, that's it. Boom. We got it. It's so the third law is for every action there is an opposite reaction. Let me get a graphic of all the laws. Hold up. Newton's laws. Newton's laws. First, second, and third law. So yeah, the third law is for every action there's an equal opposite reaction. Why is there? So why would for every action there's an equal opposite reaction? Why is that?
Everything is waves, so when a wave goes up, it goes down by the same amount.
Yeah, it's conserved, right? We say it's conserved.
Exactly.
Yeah, so energy is conserved. Everything's conserved, and what you start with is what you end with, and you can't violate. You can't make something out of nothing. You're not. Nothing in reality is actually truly created, right? Everything is just an evolution of the same thing. Does that make sense? We're
It's just formed out of already existing energy
Yes.
into a new form.
Yes, because and what that really is suggesting is that everything is converging into one energy, and it's just that one energy that's changed over time and evolved and shifted, and then it will go back to again being a one energy. Yeah.
And then that will go back into multiplicity and then back into singularity.
So if there's only one energy shifting, you gotta view yourself as your agency, an agency over energy. You're an agency over energy. You're guiding a flow of energy. You've got your attention, you've got your mind, you've got your body. You're just all of this. You're just control of energy. That's ultimately what you are. You're control of energy, control of information and algorithm. And this is a scientific law.
So consciousness is just the ability to focus energy into a certain way.
Well, I would say consciousness is this spectrum of if everything is energy, my eraser. Everything is energy. We know everything is energy, and that's all we have. We have a single energy. Then what is really changing? What's changing in the world? Hint, hint.
The
Hint, hint.
Frequency.
It's the agency over it.
Everything is a singular fundamental energy.
Which is information and algorithm.
What is changing?
The level of information.
Yes. Well done.
Okay.
The only
In
thing
a
that's
sense.
changing is the information. Right? It's the complexity of the information.
So if we all knew the same truths, we would all be the same person.
Fundamentally.
Well, that makes the Tower of Babel story from Genesis make a lot more sense now.
But the thing is that the information is evolving though, right? So I mean, you can look at your body as being a unique information expression. So I mean, what I'm getting at here is who you are is because of how this changes the information in the algorithm, right? It's the way your mind is thinking. It's the things you know, and the things you've experienced change your information and algorithm. That's what's really changing fundamentally, because everything is the same information, and it's just the way it's informationally and algorithmically expressing is different, and it's on a level of low complexity to high complexity, right? From a level 0 to infinite complexity.
Yes, so 0 is infinity.
I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole to get into, but but yeah, yeah, everything's driving to, you know, maximal information complexity, right? So as you go throughout life, like basically your body's breaking down, but your mind is increasing in informational complexity. And yeah, it's very Hegelian inspired in a lot of things I said there, but again, like everything I'm stating in this moment is like, as an example, is informational complexity that has been built up across like so many different information sources and so many experiences that have led, right? So to get pretty meta on it, to get extremely meta on it, that's, you know, yeah. Yeah.
What are we preparing for? What's our mind preparing for?
Life, just live life.
Enjoy the present.
You just gotta play the game. Gotta play the game. So how to get good at one thing? How would you get good at one thing? So where did we put? Oh, right here. Put it right here. So we talked about what the ideal perfect mentor is, right? So the ideal perfect mentor would have infinite information. They would know everything, and they would be able to solve everything instantaneously, and then they would be able to collapse that information and that thinking into physical reality instantly, right? That's I mean, we're basically describing God, right? It's right?
Chat GPT.
Or well, not ChatGPT, because ChatGPT cannot collapse physical, like, you know, informational to physical reality, mental to. So we're adding that additional, right? That, I mean, that's why money has such value, because it collapses physical reality. It makes people do things, right, to change the physical world. So if I wanted to find it depends on what I'm looking for too. So like, let's say I wanted to find I wanted to find somebody that's really good at video editing. A video editing mentor. If it's a skill, so I'm going to write this. If you are looking for a mentor for a skill, be specific, right? So for skill-related mentors, you want to be very specific, right? So you got to hunt for somebody that's very specifically a master at that one singular skill, right? You want to find that one singular skill guy. So you got to find somebody.
Yeah, you don't need to. You've already got him.
So you got to find that. Well, I'm just using video editing as, like, you know, because that's the skill.
Yeah,
that's the skill that's important to
I'm
me
not a
right
mess.
now. which I need. That's a skill that you would want. You don't need them to know everything or be able to solve everything. You just need them to very narrowly solve the problems for video editing, right? So that's where you would want to be very specific. If you want to be universally smart and intelligent, you want somebody that understands universal principles, right? That apply to everything. So that kind of person is all about objectivity, right? Objectivity is where everything converges. Skills are where everything fractures out into all the different specific skills, right? So being a polymath has two sides to it, right? So if you're thinking about like a Leonardo da Vinci and a Leibniz and any other famous polymath, what made them so unique is that they know how to converge the principles, everything to the universal principles, but they're also a master at a variety of skills, right? So there's like two sides of smart, right? It's the two sides of smart. It's being able to converge everything into the singular and being able to fracture everything out all into the multiplicity of skills. So ideally, we would all want to be skilled in everything, be a pro at all skills, but That's a lot, right? That's literally that's essentially limitless, right? How many skills are out there? Infinitely many skills, right? But the thing is there's only one convergent object. So you want to find masters that are masters at this, but also have a mentor in every skill in your stack, right? That would be the ideal scenario, right? You want to have a master of objectivity that gives you the universal principles and rules that are always held true, but then you also want to have a stack of thinkers that are very narrow in contingent skills. Right? You want to have one that's a pro at video editing, one that's a pro at coding, one that's a pro at this or that. Right? You want to have a different card for every skill. This historically has been known as the genius is like the universal. It's the guy that can shoot the target that nobody can see, right? What nobody can see is the objectivity. It's where the convergence underneath all aspects of reality, right? That's the genius, right? Over here is we say this person is is talented if they're naturally gifted at something or they're trained, right? It's a combination of being naturally talented at something and trained up to do that thing.
So the genius is the master of objectivity and the polymath master of multiple, things where they split. So the specifics.
Yeah, but historically, polymaths have always been kind of the bridge between genius and natural talent and trained for a wide variety of things, right? So it's those, like, polymath is the convergence of those three things, right? He's the universal genius. Universal genius. He's the natural talent, and he's the trained wide skills set. And when those three things come together, that's when you get the magic. Natural talent, universal genius, and trained wide skill set. Right? Because universal genius is it's about convergence to the invisible universal principles under all reality. It's the necessary, right? This over here, trained wide skill set, is the fracturing out to all contingent, infinitely many skills across all. It's a fracturing out and then a narrowing, right? So all the skills fracture out from the singular root, and then it's the master of the branch, right? So this is the master branch, and this is the master of the root. Master of the root. The natural talent is just cards you're dealt. They're just the cards you're dealt. So the universal genius is the one that can shoot the target that no one else can see. The master of the branch is the one that can shoot the target very talented. Well, sorry, no. The master of the branch is the one that can shoot the target from training. And then the natural talent is the one that can shoot the target on the first try, just completely naturally, like just gifted, right? So there's three different types there, right? People get results based on their natural talent, just what they were born with that they happen to be just genetically wired to do, or what they've been trained to do and conditioned to do, or they've honed themselves to an extreme informational complexity that they're able to converge objectivity. They're able to converge a wide perspective of subjectivity into objectivity and have found the universal patterns. Right? How you even know what you should get good at or on a loop? It's going to be an element of these three things, right? It's either what you're trained to do that resonated with you, what you're naturally good at, or something related to your convergence of genius. And then all of this needs to be mediated with societal need. Because you're gonna get different returns based on societal needs as well, right? Because if you're really good at doing something that society demands, we live in a capitalistic society. We don't live in a society that's dependent on true value and merit. We live in a society that's dependent on resource return, monetary return, right? So you gotta put that additional filter on it. Live in a capitalist. Eventually, if the world shifts to a merit-driven or value-driven world, then this won't need to be accounted for, the societal need, because in a value-driven world, the societal need becomes the objective, like, reality. Right? That's a big fracture with our economic system in the world right now. The true value is not aligned to the societal value. So there's a misalignment there, and that leads to a lot of issues in society. But you gotta see it for what it is. Is what true? Let me see. I feel like from every book in Warrior List on Hard Times Create Strong Men. Yeah, that's a really good book. Hard Times Create Strong Men is a really good book. Really, really good book. So what you need to think. So here's another good rule of thumb. If I'm trying to how to get good at one thing, you got to ask yourself, what is the information in the algorithm necessary? Where can I get the best quality information? Where can I get the best quality algorithm? Because people you're exposed to, they're essentially algorithms. They're algorithms, and then they're feeding you information, right? So when you're finding a YouTuber you like, it's because that algorithm and the information being emitted by that algorithm, it can be resonating with you for the wrong reasons or the right reasons in that out. So you have to find well, that too. The algorithm itself is an algorithm, right? And the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, is giving you information points, and each one of those information points are an algorithm, right? It's a system of algorithms, and those systems of algorithms are emitting systems of information, right? It's a cascade of information and algorithmic systems. That makes sense, what I'm saying?
So how do you figure out if something resonates with you, good or bad? So
your tool set should always be this. The universal genius thinking is all about objectivity, right? So what's rationally making sense, right? That's appealing to the reason, truth, logic category. So you can use that as a weapon for evaluation, and then you can also look at somebody's portfolio, right? Like what skills, what proof of skills and proof of receipts do they have? The problem is nowadays with social media, everybody's very just shallow and fake, and a lot of people fall for that fakeness. They fall for sensory illusions. Don't fall for sensory illusions. People are very biased for sensory data instead of logical, rational data. But what will happen naturally over time, hopefully, is what you're doing is you're getting more and more skills, and you're honing your ability to be objective and objectively evaluate. And what happens is it causes an exponentiation of an algorithm. Your exponentiation of your ability to align with objectivity.
So the more skills you master, the better you are at becoming a genius?
Yes, because genius requires a wide information net. It requires a extremely large data sample. right? Because you cannot converge to patterns if you don't have a wide data model, right? You can look up your foundations of LLMs, right? How do you train a neural? You have to expose it to a wide data set, a wide set to train on, right? The training is the algorithmic, but you can't have you can't have a high complexity neural network without a wide data set. Because those models, what they're really doing is they're taking wide data sets and they're honing patterns. So this is like your fundamental pattern of reality, fractured out, infinitely many algorithms you can master are your skills. IQ is a huge factor, and it's primarily just the cards you're dealt, right?
So if you have been dealt a bad hand, how much does that decrease your chances of maximizing all of these?
Well, the thing is if you're dealt with a very bad hand at first, you're going to struggle a lot because you're not going to build up a certain level of objectivity in order to even designate what the good sources are, right? So even if you were presented the correct information, you wouldn't be able to designate or properly evaluate the quality of that information, right? So early on, you're in a big rut of stink, right? This is the stink because you're not able to designate what information is valuable versus what is not, or what versus what is, right? You have no evaluation, you have no strong objectivity that will help you score information accordingly and be able to, choose what you should integrate versus what you shouldn't. And then too, like really early on in your life, you're just copy and paste the conditioning that your parents are subjecting you to. You don't have any ability to self-loop on yourself, to self-condition, right? You have no self-conditioning capability. You're just running off the pre-programmed algorithms that have been conditioned in you by your parents and your environment. So there's a significant developmental shift where you start to realize, like, wait a second, I can condition myself, right? You start to have enough informational complexity where you realize that you are this information and algorithm. You're able to condition yourself.
They get some sort of like awakening that makes them aware they choose their own fate.
Yes.
Is there any way to trigger that for someone, or it's just happenstance?
It's mostly you're in this sea of information and algorithms, and you have to be exposed to the right algorithms and the right information at the right time, and then properly integrate it into yourself at the right time and in the right way, in order to develop that certain level of complexity in order to take self off of it. But it's like the same bridge of like actually becoming conscious in the age of reason when you're about 5 to 7 years old in your development. It's just things start to click because there's been enough exposure to language to the point where you can, build out knowledgeable concepts on your experiential experience that allow you to then loop on that experiential experience. And then loops, if you're gonna take anything about this way, loops are very important. Loops. That's a key word, right? Looping, thinking about thinking.
Yes.
Higher and higher levels of metacognition, right? You keep looping and looping and looping and looping and looping, and the mind at the highest level, when it gets to the pinnacle of the mind, if you go up the pyramid of mind and you get to the peak of mind, you cause a loop cascade in your mind, right? And then that's when the crazy shit happens, because you're looping on the loop and the loop on the loop, and it's like a mental explosion, right? And then you come back into finite life and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Can you regress?
Can you
By the way.
regress? I mean,
Yeah, a possibility.
what's that one quote? Once the mind is stretched. Once the mind is stretched. 1 second. Once the mind is stretched by a new idea, it can never return to its original dimensions. And that's
So if that's the case, how does singularity go back into multiplicity if this permanently changes?
Because it's all about just recognition of what it really is. It's always the same. It's just, well, I mean, I'll just tell you, like this top of this is it's a monism, tautological reason. It's a monism of tautological reason, and after, like, you can reason this out too, right? But it's a monism of tautological reason. Everything is just this, right? Everything is this. It's just do you have the concept model for being able to integrate the ideas. Schrödinger once said, let me just find it. Schrödinger, the question, seeing what did he say? Gosh. The problem is not seeing something different. God, this one's not coming to me. This is a really relevant one to what we're discussing, so I gotta find it. There we go. Got it. God, that gave me like a stroke trying to find it. The task is not to see what has never been seen before, but to think what has never been thought before about what you see every day. So roughly every human being, perception-wise, is seeing the same thing as everyone else is seeing, right? We all have similar sensory mechanisms. We have similar, with reasonable variance, of course, right? Everybody's looking at the same world mostly, right? All our eyes are roughly the same. Our ability to feel is roughly the same. I mean, obviously you have, like, you know, sensory conditions, and for instance, one that I have with synesthesia. So I mean, maybe I'm actually an exception to this quote, because I don't sense the same way as most other people. But what he's saying here is very important, because what he's saying is he's talking about at the bottom of this pyramid right here. He's saying everyone is sensing the same bottom of the pyramid, right? But how high you can go up on the pyramid to about how you think is what's variable, right? The hard part is getting the right thinking about the entire pyramid, right? Because there's very few people that can think at the eye of the pyramid. These people are the rarest thing in existence, right? They're the rarest, literally the rarest thing in reality. The people that can think at the top of the pyramid, right? Mind. Development of mind. Psychological development. So again, I skipped a few steps there because we've talked about this pyramid of development so many times. I'm alluding to Maslow's hierarchy of psychological. So what I'm saying is that there's an eye at the top of the pyramid. There's the ultimate thinking, which is tautological reason. It's a monism.
Like the dollar bill.
Yeah, like the dollar bill. Yeah, it's the top of the pyramid is the logos. And once you reach the top of the pyramid, you realize the entire pyramid. And distinctions are unintelligent, because the only true intelligence at the peak is realizing that the entire pyramid is one thing.
So someone's level of mind on this pyramid is fundamentally just determined by their information algorithm, right?
Yes, the honing of their...
Yeah, so the more information you have, the better the algorithm goes, which is to the top.
Yes, but you realize how rare that is for somebody to open their mind to across all informational paradigms. That's very, very rare, right? That somebody will expose themselves across all philosophies, all belief systems, all sciences, all contingent perspectives across reality. And then in order to converge those into a singular objectivity that is a core pattern across all of those perspectives is very rare, right? Because what you have to be is you have to literally give up everything. You have to give up all of your conditioning and all of your paradigms and all of your your truth models. You have to be willing to sacrifice 100% of your truth models and 100% of your conditioning and 100% of everything you've built within your mind across your entire life. Yeah, and that's a very narrow gate, as it's been called, or a very lonely peak. It's the eye that views itself, right? Because it's a tautology, right? It's self-sufficient, or it's called.
Isn't this
I am what I am. It's tautological self-reference.
so? Wouldn't this also be a truth model then? Because this is
Yes.
a way of understanding.
Yes, reality is a truth. Yep. You have to realize that that's what reality is. It is information. It is a algorithm. It is a truth model. It's just a singular truth model out to all models of contingency, right? Like matter doesn't even factor into this equation, right? It's just information, and right, everything is fundamentally information and algorithm. It's the entire electromagnetic spectrum, right?
Matter doesn't exist.
Well, it exists contingently, and it's just improperly perceived as matter. There is no matter.
Exactly.
Not as we think of it when we're when we're children, uneducated in science, or even educated in science, but in more crude science. So it's well, I mean, physics will help you. Physics is one of those things that's kind of non-negotiable, right? Physics, mathematics, philosophy, psychology. Those are like the big ones. Like anything to do with language, like mathematics or language is a non-negotiable because everything is fundamentally language, right? I mean, like the people don't think down here. If you're thinking everything is matter, it's because your content. You're fixated on content, right? You're a content person. You're all about the content. The content. It's like the person that only plays a video game and only ever thinks about the video game and thinks about the video game like it's magic, right? Well, behind the video game is a code, right? It's a structure. It's a syntax, right? There's a syntax for the content. The content just doesn't just magically pop on your screen. It pops on your screen because the syntax has been built in order to render the content. Reality is the same way.
So people who are at the low level are only concerned with what, while people on the high level are concerned with why.
Yes, or you can reframe it as people on the low level are only fixated on content, and people on the top level are fixated on syntax or structure, and how that syntax or structure relates to the content, and how it collapses back into the singular. Make sense?
And how it collapses back in to the
Yes.
content?
Well, how all content collapses back into singular syntax. Right.
So how it relates to the content collapsing into the syntax so it fulfills the...
Yes. Yeah. And how it all converges back in. How it goes from a multiplicity to a convergence. How it goes from a multiplicity into a unity. So the original example of that is the Pythagorean tetractys. It's the same thing as this, right? It's the same idea. It's the same core idea as this. And the eye of providence and the dollar bill, it's all the same thing. It's understanding that everything is derivative of them, or how it's historically been labeled as the monad in Pythagorean originally. Pythagorean thought. Just the monad. It's like what's the symbol for it? Like this, and then the dot in the middle. It's the idea that all of
Yeah,
this
it's a monad.
all this outer is dependent on the. So there's a quote by Blaise Pascal, I think, that what is it? It's God is a circle. It's funny like how I have all these quotes in my head, but I never have them 100%. So I'm like, oh, there's that one quote, but let me get the exact wording. God is a circle whose center is everywhere and circumference is nowhere. Right? So it's very important for you to grasp how everywhere or everything and nothing interrelate. Right? And that's where the classic Leibnizian contemplation comes from. Why is there something instead of nothing? Right? Why is there something instead of nothing? Why does anything exist? Yeah, that's the other one too. That's the one that's from. I mean, it's been said multiple times. This is another
Like-
one that's like a common one that's been said by so many people in different ways.
Like
Yakuza.
that was one of the points in the list of things you gave that if I contemplate it, I'd like increase my level of thinking or something. I forgot exactly what you said.
Do I believe in God? Is that your question, Sky? Or
I know God.
avid reader? Yeah, I don't need to believe. You don't need to believe anything but in order to reason it out, there's no shortcuts. There's no cheating. There's no one that can do it for you.
It's only one way.
There's only one way. It's a narrow gate. It's a convergence. If you know and reason, that only you can do that for yourself. Only you can build yourself up to know and reason it out. Right? It's the one thing that no one else can do for you. It's completely on you. Completely on you.
That's the only thing you alone can do.
It's the one thing that is completely truly independent. Winning the game. Only you can win the game.
Is it the case that once you reach the end of your time, you're gonna need to face that dragon regardless?
Well, I mean, something could happen to you though. I mean, you could just get hit by a bus and then you can't face that dragon, right? Like, I mean, it's gonna come to a point where you... Huh?
What I mean is that upon death, you will have to face him.
Yeah.
That you have no choice no matter.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, everybody will know eventually. Everybody will know the truth eventually. It's just you wanna, it's better to come to the truth while you're living this experience. Campbell, Joseph Campbell said something like that, right? It's better to come to know and to live the experience here, and you don't want to live for the next life.
Why is it better though?
So if we'll all figure out the truth eventually, what's the rush?
Because the whole point of the whole system is to have the relationship, right? Is to have the relationship of the new.
So
it's for the part
to
align with the whole, right? Every part will return every. So you have a whole that generates parts. So you got to make this generic because it's not just human beings, it's anything. So you have a whole that generates parts, right? Every part must return to the whole. But what's unique is when the part aligns to the whole and then pulls the whole into the part. That's what the whole really wants to live out the whole in the part to its maximum capability, right? And in all of in it's infinitely many ways. Does that make sense? The only way for the whole to be the whole is for the whole to express in every part. Oh god, it's such a wise statement I just said. It's a really wise statement. Whew. Yeah. The only way the whole can express itself is through the part. It's the only way. It's crazy to think about. Like that's like a mind meld right there. The only way for the whole to fully express is through the part. Oh gosh, it's just
because if everything is the same, then there is nothing to express to.
So you have to do it in a way where the whole expresses through the part, and then the other parts see the whole in that part, right? And that's what this conversation is right now, right? Because
the way this whole makes parts is simply by reducing information in certain areas, which creates a new algorithm.
Well, what we're saying before is the only way that we can go up this spectrum Where'd the spectrum go? The only way that this can go upwards is for the infinity to come down to the finite, right? And it exponentiates to the point where parts are always rearranging to get closer to the whole. They want to get closer and closer to the whole. Well, one part gets close to the whole and gets closer and closer to the whole, and then other parts start to surround this part that has direct conception of the whole, and then all of these other parts start interfacing with the whole. It's like a virus.
So it's like a convergence of algorithms into the whole, essentially.
Yeah. So what that's historically been known as is omega point, because everything is converging back to the whole informationally. It's all converging to a singular point.
What's the alpha point?
The alpha is the omega, because what you start with is what you end with. You can never. It has to follow conservation. So, really, this is just another
Zero.
word for zero.
Yes.
Which has to
Jesus.
be tautologically equivalent. That's because that's the only thing logically it can be equal to. It's like almost psychosis inducing, especially if you fully conceive of it. You like almost don't like survive, right? I like couldn't eat for a week once I like figured out, like once I reasoned it all out, like I was oof.
Yeah, it's mental.
I wonder if that's why Jesus had went on a 40 days alone in the desert after he got baptized and figured it out.
Yeah, I think that's why like all the the big religious leaders are like have their like fasting stories where they couldn't like function because like once you figure this out, it's mind breaking, right? Absolutely mind, and you really become the glitch in the matrix, right? Because you know the truth, right? The truth of the whole.
Yeah, you just gain true self-awareness, consciousness of consciousness.
Yeah. Well, not even necessarily consciousness. It's mind of mind, right? Because as we said, the consciousness is on a spectrum.
What's the difference between consciousness and mind?
The level of mental complexity of knowledge on the experiential, right? Because like
so consciousness is a higher form of mind.
Yeah, because it's like a narrow subset of mind that only produces when you have a certain level of tautological mind itself. Because a dog can't loop on its own mind. It doesn't have any concepts. It doesn't have a language. It doesn't have conceptual language to loop on itself. It can't like look at something and put a label on it. It can only live its experienced life, right? It's direct in the experience. It's directly living its life. It's not building a concept system, and it's not able to cognitively consider its lived experience. Like human beings can do that, right? So we have like our two sides of ourselves. It's like our godlike nature, right? It's the image, godlike nature, aka we're in the image of God, and then the animal nature, animalistic nature. The animalistic nature is the sensory, it's the experiential. But then if you go this way, if you go this direction, this is all higher and higher level concepts. Higher and higher level concepts. Animals have no concepts, right? God is all about concepts, right? And ultimately the convergent concept is the concept that conceives itself, right? It's the conception of conception. It's the reason, right? It's the I am. It's just the thinking about thinking. So everything fundamentally depends on the thinking of thinking and the reason logos of logos of logos of logos. To conceive of it is different, right? To actually fully conceive of it is the true contemplation of
So the ultimate subjectivity is just knowing God, which is zero infinity tautology.
So a dog doesn't have language, but we do. But doesn't language limit us in itself?
Well, we use our
Because
language
the
system for distinctions, right? Human language provides distinction, right? I can say there's cat and dog.
but you lose that distinction when you're at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah,
So
because
is it really language?
well, that's the difference between human language isn't coherence based. It's not about coherence to truth. It's about just putting labels on things.
So does the universal language not differentiate things or give a distinction?
There is no distinction in a universal language, right? It's just the language.
So
it just runs.
it just gives information as is.
Yes, because it has to be a completely tautological, coherent system, right? It's the only way out of the problems that Gödel raised, right? It's the only.
Yeah, Gödel's theorem.
It has to be completely. It has to be a strict monism. It has to be a singular substance, right? As Spinoza contemplated. He's right, right? Because it has to be a strict monism of rational syntax itself. It has to be the same information carrier. Yep.
And I tried to make a little understanding of the pyramid part that you explained earlier.
So what we're getting at here is like on Homath's, like, you know how he does his level videos? Like, this is what the top level is, right? What I'm describing, that is the top level, right? This is
level 9.
This is like the true peak of level 9. Or, I mean, basically what it means is it goes infinitely, right? Because it's just looping forever. I mean, that's what waves are. They're loops. They're just circles, right? Waves are circles.
Yeah.
Everything is fundamentally circular, just loops. It's like the Lion King intuited it out, right? It's the circle of life. Everything converges at the circle of life. It's just the information flow. It's the wave flow. It's the
But
go ahead.
the way I'm thinking is like the way we interface and call it a circle. It's like when we conceive of it in a finite manner. So especially when you communicate, like it reduces itself more and more and more.
Well, yes, because
so can you like truly like interface with it without reduction?
Well, think of it, so there's a circle, and then a circle is just a wave, right? But it's not really a wave, and it's not really a circle. All a circle fundamentally really is a singular point that goes in a circle. And that's what a wave is. It's a singular point, right? So really what we're conceiving of, and everything you look at in life, is just a point. The only thing that exists is a single point. It's the only thing that exists. There are no distinctions.
So
the only reason we distinct anything is because we came up with language and then were able to like say, oh, there's this and that, right? But in reality, there's just a singular point.
Singular point of nothing is everything.
Language doesn't limit us. Language helps us distinct, right? But the problem with distinction is it's not intelligible, right? Distinction is actually it's an unintelligible thing. It's a sensory thing, right? Intelligibility is about understanding what everything actually is, and the peak of intelligibility is a mon. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just discriminating the singular point. We're putting a distinctive layer on the singular point. That's all we really do, effectively. We're all the singular point. We're all logos, but we discriminate it and put different labels on pieces of it, right? We just put labels of parts on the whole. What's special is when you have a human being that exists as a part that can fully grasp the logos and its richness and its fullness, right? And the key word for that is.
But that person has to be quite reductionist. and divide it into parts quite a lot.
Yeah, you have to. Well, it's about the dialectical synthesis of converging particularization and convert. They're inseparable, right? Your ability to cut things apart into distinctions is the only way you can converge information. Because if you can't get the wide view, you can't get the high view.
Cutting the distinction or into distinction?
Say it again.
You said cutting things into distinction or cutting the distinctions?
Cutting the singular into distinctions, right? So you got to go and what I'm saying is you need a wide data set. You need both a wide data set and you need a convergence of the data set, right? The two of them are inseparable. They are the same thing. Going wide is going narrow, because the only way to go narrow is to go wide.
Oh, okay, so it's like a neural network of
Yes, it's exactly
references. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But a lot of people take a single reference and call it the part whole when you have to build the whole neural network.
Yeah, there's a lot of traps along the way where you can get stuck into a singular paradigm of subjectivity within the greater objectivity.
How do you avoid those traps?
You have to be willing to doubt everything. You have to desire truth like you do air. It's the only way.
If you are skeptical of everything, then what base of knowledge could you possibly build upon?
Well, I think what Dan is talking about, you need doubt, because you can get trapped in like schizoegoism.
Like, let's say
if you're doubting, you're never sure of. You never say that I'm this prophet. I'm fucking Jesus. There, what a lot of these prophets say, and that's psychosis in itself. So if you don't have doubt, you might get stuck.
I'm saying, didn't Jesus doubt?
Like, so if someone, for example, doubts the veracity of logic or reason, then how would he be able to build knowledge with reason if he's skeptical of the base?
Because he's exploring it. It's not like you can conceive perfect logic all the time. That's what I think anyway.
Well, every argument. Well, what you do is you get caught up in reason X, Y, Z. You get caught up in all these different reasons. It goes infinite out, right? So there's reason X, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, 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 right? There's all these incrementing, like infinitely many, but eventually you have to get to the point that's presented to you. Every single one of them has a base reason. And then you realize, like, wait, the commonality across every argument that's ever been presented may be reason associated with it. So then you start to narrow down and realize, everything is convergently fundamentally reason itself, right? All of the information it has to have a reason.
Understanding, or sort of getting out of this loop through skepticism, what you meant is that just see what everything has in common, essentially?
Yeah, you start to unearth the base pattern of reality, right? And the base pattern of reality is logic and reason and mathematics itself. It's the only thing it can be, right? Because the only way you can think it out, right? The only way you can think it out is realizing that the root of everything is thinking itself.
Yeah, so you would have to have certainty in that, wouldn't you?
Yes. Right, because
so
if you go via any other method, then it's not a thinking method. If you use thinking as your method, the only ultimate solution you arrive at is thinking itself. If you use any other method, then there's no logical or rational basis to it whatsoever.
So this is the one thing you can't be skeptical of?
Yeah.
But everything else is fair game.
It's like holding a stick of faith upon reason itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of asking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like either you use thinking to arrive at thinking, or you arrive at any other reason that isn't reasoning itself. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? So it's like if you're a rational person, you will always converge to the same singular answer. If you're any other type of person, you're gonna come up with whatever other reason that's not rational. But if you're a rational person, one way to converge, because what a rational person is they're a thinking person. They're a thinking person.
So how can there be multiple rational people who have different conclusions?
Because they haven't known.
Just not enough information.
Yeah, and not a complexity of
Well, I mean, doesn't complexity of algorithm just a result of more information?
Yes. The thing is the highly complex people start to exponentiate, and then complex people, and all of the highly complex people tend to group up. End the recording here.